Not sure if you want to buy that really expensive iPad and try out digital art for the first time? I'm here to help. Today, I will be sharing my personal pros and cons to digital art. These are things that I've just noticed along the way, the differences between digital art and traditional art, problems that I have with digital art versus the amazing things about it that really helped me along the way. I created a list that will hopefully help you decide if you would like to try digital art as well. Because listen, I know iPads are not cheap. Apple pencils are not cheap. Procreate, it's actually not that bad. I think it's still when I bought it a few years ago, it was $10 and it's literally one payment and that's it. So that's really not bad compared to what you can do with Procreate. Digital art, it's not like it's a cheap option. But when you think about it, traditional art can be just as expensive, if not more expensive. Because I mean, once you buy the iPad, you've got the iPad. Once you have the pencil, you've got the pencil. And once you have Procreate, you've got Procreate. By the way, Procreate, please don't ever turn it into a monthly subscription. I will. Please, I beg of you. Thanks. Today we are talking pros and cons of digital art. Let's get started. Could I clip this to my shirt right here or have a magnet and put it here? Yes. But would I prefer to have it clipped to a paintbrush and talk into a microphone? Yes. Pros. We're starting with pros. Now listen, I've said this once, I've said this twice, I've said this a million times, and I'm gonna say it again. Had it not been for digital art and the option to draw digitally, I actually don't know if I'd be sitting here today doing this. And I don't know if I would even be an artist. And here's why. I cannot stand to waste things. And I've been this way about pretty much everything in my life. So anytime in my life, outside of being a kid, because when I was a kid, I didn't think about it. When I made art, if it didn't turn out to be a masterpiece, I felt like I wasted all of the material that I use. I wasted good paper, I wasted markers, I wasted pencils, I wasted good paint. I always feel like if something doesn't turn out, that I've wasted it. I'm not saying that that is a good mindset. No wonder there are so many things that I've never tried or done because I'm just worried that I'm gonna waste it if it doesn't turn out. And everything has to apparently turn out in my life, and that's just not the reality of life. And that's why I don't. That's for another day. You know what fixed that? My iPad. You can't waste anything. You're not using paper, it's digital. You're not using paint, it's digital. You're not using pencils, it's digital. Do you understand? It's digital. You can create 1,000 pieces of art, but you've only used one iPad and one Apple Pencil that never needs to be sharpened. And because of that, because I felt like this was a foolproof way to make art, and I was able to try out things that I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to do, I was able to learn because I had the confidence to do so, because I wasn't so worried and afraid and constantly in the back of my mind thinking, if this doesn't work out, I've wasted it all. There's nothing to waste, so I could try out anything I wanted. I could test out anything I wanted. I could learn anything I wanted without using the actual materials. Let's move on. You can literally take this anywhere so easily. I used to take this iPad to work every single day and it fit perfectly into my purse and took up no space because it's flat. And if you get one of those smaller iPads, it's even more portable. It's even easier to take around. Any backpack, any purse, well, not any purse. You're not gonna be able to fit it into like a fanny pack, but you know what I'm saying. Easily take it in your luggage and travel with it, and you don't have to worry about it taking up a ton of space. This thing doesn't take up space. You can take it anywhere. It's extremely portable. It's extremely easy to fit anywhere. Now, something else that would always stop me from creating art for the longest time, I was always afraid that I'd get through the sketch and it was perfect, and then I would get through the first layer of coloring and it was perfect, and then I would do that one little thing and ruin it all. you guys, with Procreate, I mean, you would have to like try really hard to make it to where you can't even go back. You can literally erase. You can use the liquify tool to fix a shape, delete layers, add layers. You can't mess up with digital art. If you've gotten all the way to the last step and then you do that one thing that it's like, oh, that doesn't look good. You know, all you gotta do is boop, boop, double tap, gone. It's gone. You can fix it. You can erase it. You can change the color of it. You can liquify it and change the shape of it. I think you would really have to put, and I could be wrong, but I really think you would have to put effort into making it impossible to fix a piece of art that you create in Procreate or just digitally. Maybe I'm just too worried about things. Yes! Now, while we're on the topic of ruining things, which, I don't know, like maybe I've just got a problem. But something else I always worried about is ruining the texture of the piece of paper that I'm working on. So let's say I'm working with watercolor. You really want to make sure that you're keeping the integrity of the texture of the paper, because the texture of the paper is what helps make the watercolor do what it's supposed to do and work the way it's supposed to work. If you're like me and you're not super confident with getting a good sketch from the start, and you have to kind of keep erasing and then erasing a little more and erasing a little more, you run the risk of possibly ruining the texture of the paper in those areas that you keep having to erase. Guess how you fix that? You do it digitally. Then you don't have to worry about erasing over and over, and there's no way to ruin the texture of a digital canvas. Is that not so spectacular or what? Now, if you're like me, I'm sorry. Now, if you're like me, you're indecisive. That could be a problem when creating traditional art. Once something is down on canvas or on paper, it can be really, really hard to change it, if that's even possible at all. Yeah, no, that would be really hard, especially with like watercolor. Again, I love watercolor. That's my favorite like traditional art. So yeah. So for somebody who's extremely indecisive like me, digital art has been so helpful, giving me the ability to change colors throughout the process, the look of something, change an expression, change the shape, especially when it comes to colors. I'm also still not as versed in color theory as I would like to be. So being able to change the colors all throughout is so nice and it's so helpful. Anything that I'm really indecisive about, if I'm not sure if I want to add that little shape in there, if I'm not sure if I want to put a highlight here, I can try it out, and if I don't like it, I can double tap, or I can literally delete that whole layer. It gives me the ability to try things and change things. That being said, that can actually become a con, but we'll talk about that later on. Now, if you have a ton of different interests, acrylic, gouache, watercolor, pencils, instead of having to go out and purchase hundreds of dollars worth of all these different art supplies, you can literally do it all with the iPad and a pencil. I mean, like, yeah, okay, like the iPad, it's not like it's cheap, but you buy the iPad, you buy the Apple Pencil, you buy Procreate, and that's it. You don't have to repurchase art supplies because you've run out of it. You don't have to buy art supplies because you want to try it out and you don't even know if you're going to like it. You've got the iPad, you've got the pencil, you can do it all. You can create an acrylic painting. You can create an oil painting. You can create colored pencils, paintings, drawings. Plus, you don't have the mess of all the different supplies. When I'm painting, this thing right here, there's stuff everywhere. There's stuff on top of other stuff. There's paint all over the place. It's getting on my arms and I don't even know how it got there. I mean, it's a mess. Digital art, you got all the supplies literally right there on your iPad. Now, that does kind of slightly go into another con again, but we'll talk about that later. And it's really not even a big one. It's kind of just like a personal preference type of thing. So listen, I'm a lazy person. If something isn't like put into my hands for me, it takes me a long time to convince myself to get up and do it or go get the stuff to do it. I fully am to blame for it. It's just me being lazy. Especially when Jacob and I lived in our last apartment, my art supplies was upstairs and then like the living room was downstairs and our balcony was downstairs, and I oftentimes wanted to be in the living room or sitting on the balcony being outside. I wanted to like paint outside or in the living room, but now I've got this huge mess out where like Jacob and I are trying to just go about our lives throughout the day. It's just a mess, okay? With an iPad, I can go anywhere with it. I can draw anywhere with it. I can paint anywhere with it. If I want to go sit outside, if I want to get in bed and get all bundled up and like cozy and basically just be a potato in my bed, I can still paint and draw on my iPad. I don't have to have all this supplies and water spilling everywhere. I can do oil paintings in my bed on my white comforter. Take it to the park, take it to the library, take it to Barnes and Noble, take it to work. And you don't have to have all of this supplies with you. Now, again, that's truly, I admit it, that is me being lazy. That is me not wanting to have to pack up all my art supplies and have all of this stuff and get it all out, unpack it, and then pack it back up, clean it up. That is just me being really lazy. I mean, it's pretty great, especially in the winter time, being able to create art and paint things while bundled up in bed. Now, if you're drawing something that has really, really tiny, fine details, you can zoom way in. If I'm wanting to get really precise details in there and like, really get the lashes really just wispy and like very fine line, tiny little line, I can zoom way in and achieve that. Or like, let's say I'm drawing like a full body. I can zoom way into the face to get the face how I want it. And then when I zoom out, the features just look so much better than if I hadn't been able to zoom in. Maybe that's like a perfectionist thing, which again, like I'm really trying so hard to not be such a perfectionist because it never works out anyway. It's never perfect anyway. So like, now listen, if there is one thing that I love so very much about digital art, it's the liquefy tool. There have been a few times where I finished an art piece and it just didn't quite look right. It looked a little wonky. And especially if you flip the canvas and you see it mirrored, then you can really see where things got distorted. Things aren't quite anatomically right and in like a really weird, wonky way. Take that liquefy tool and I was able to fix the entire face and make it look correct anatomically and make it look more cohesive, and it made more sense. Like the liquefy tool has absolutely saved me. And you know what? To some people, it might be like you shouldn't have to use the liquefy tool to make good art. You know what I say to that? Also with digital art, you literally have any and every color that you could possibly imagine without having to buy each color individually. Because listen, I mean, I love the paint section of art supply stores because all of those colors are so fun to look at. But then when it comes down to actually like picking out the paint colors that you want, wow, it's really overwhelming. So if you buy that wrong shade of yellow, it could be a tragedy. And lastly, now I don't know why, but I always find that I prefer to do the rough sketch really small. I like to draw smaller for some reason. I feel like if I'm trying to draw it the actual size, I'm not able to see it as a whole very well, and so I end up making way more mistakes and things look a little more wonky and things don't look quite correct. And so if I'm able to kind of draw just in a small little area and start there, I feel like my sketch always turns out a lot better and a lot more cohesive and harmonious, and it looks more correct. But what's really great is then I'm able to take that whole entire sketch and blow it up to whatever size I want. Something else that's great. Let's say that I draw both eyes and I love the way I drew the eyes. I love the shape of them. They look so good. But one eye is way too small. I can literally select the one eye and make it larger. And boom, done. Didn't have to erase it, didn't have to start over. And you know how it always goes. It's just like when you have a really, really good hair day and nowhere to go. You get the sketch done, you absolutely love the way it looks, but you really need to redraw one of the eyes because it's not the right size. You go to redraw it, and it just doesn't look as good. It doesn't look the same. It's not as perfect as the one that you drew beforehand. You don't have to worry about that because you don't have to redraw anything because you can literally just resize it in Procreate. You can just resize it. And now we come to the most fun part, because it's the most dramatic and it's the most exciting because it's the cons. And we all know, I do it, and I know that you do it. Whenever it comes down to deciding if you're gonna buy something or not, you look at the cons and you just disregard those pros. Remember how I was like, hey, you can do acrylic and watercolor and gouache and markers on Procreate? You can, but is it exactly the same, and does it work the exact same way? No. There are acrylic brushes in Procreate. There's dry acrylic, wet acrylic, there's just regular acrylic. There's watercolor brushes, there's gouache brushes, there's oil pastels, but they just don't quite work exactly the same. And here's the thing. There are so many artists that I follow on Instagram that they do digital art completely, but if I didn't see the actual process done, and I didn't actually see them using Procreate or just an iPad, I would actually probably think that they had drawn that or painted that on a canvas because it just looks so real. So there is a way to make digital art look traditional, and it would make people question if it is traditional art or not. You just kind of have to practice with it. There is a learning curve to it, and you're not going to learn the way that paint material works by doing it digitally. It's not going to be an exact replica of the way that actual paint and a brush and water and paper works, which is fine. I don't think that's that big of a deal. And again, like, you really can, if you want it to look like an actual oil painting, you can do that. It's just gonna take some practice. So remember how I said that if you're a really indecisive person like me, digital art is really fantastic because you can pretty much change and alter anything throughout the entire process. That's also not great. With the option to change anything and everything at any point in time, it kind of keeps me constantly changing things, trying different things, and constantly wondering if my art could be better. I'm constantly wondering, but could this be better? Let me change this. Let me alter that. Let me duplicate this entire thing, see what it would look like if I moved this or changed all of these colors. Then I change all of the colors, and then I'm going back and forth. Oh, which one do I like better? Oh, well, maybe I should do a third color palette or third color option. It takes me forever to finish digital art because I can change so much and I have so many options. So I'm just always kind of like, maybe this could be better, or maybe I could change this, or maybe these colors would be better. And then it takes me a really long time to move on to the next step because I'm so stuck trying to decide what I should do with this step or this layer. Whereas with traditional art, it's kind of like you put down a color or you put that line there and it's pretty much there. So yeah, if you're really indecisive, it's great because it allows you to try all kinds of things. It's also not great because it allows you to try all kinds of things. Now, the back button. You can double tap, you can do the arrow back button. It's great. It's really helpful, but it's also one of my biggest downfalls. I oftentimes find myself going into autopilot when I'm drawing digitally. I'm not really drawing intentionally anymore because I know in the back of my mind, any line or shadow or color that I draw onto that art, I can just double tap and it's gone. Do you know how many times I have caught myself for 10 minutes, draw, double tap, draw, double tap, draw, double tap, because I'm not drawing it in the first place with intention, because I know in the back of my mind, well, if it's not the shape that I like, I can just double tap and it'll be gone. And whereas with traditional art, it's kind of like once you put something down, it can be really, really hard to change what you have put onto that paper. And so you have way more intention and you've got way more thought with every single stroke that you do. Now with digital art, there's no texture. Let's say that you want your drawing to look like it has texture to it, to look like a canvas. You can absolutely add a layer, a texture layer, and then set it to like multiply. And so really then it just adds like a canvas texture. Now, of course, with there being so many different brushes in Procreate, with there being so many different brushes in Procreate, there are plenty of options to add texture with the brushes and different painting techniques in Procreate. And also, you're able to create your own brushes, and so you can add whatever texture you want. You're literally able to create a brush with any texture you want. You can import your own texture, or you can use all of the different textures already added into their library to choose from. There are plenty of artists that create things digitally that have me questioning, wait, is that digital or is that a painting? But again, you kind of have to put effort into giving your digital art texture. So there is a workaround and there is a way to add it, but it's never gonna quite work exactly the way textured paper, water, and paint come together to look a certain way. And then of course with the iPad, obviously it is a smooth, flat, glossy surface. So there's no texture, there's no grip to the iPad. But just like there are screen protectors for your phone and screen protectors for your iPad, there are screen protectors or things that you can add to your screen that have paper textures. I have one that I will link it down below, or I'll put it somewhere here. It's actually got like magnetic bands on each side, so I'm able to take it on and off of my iPad all the time, and I don't have to worry about getting the screen protector on smoothly with no bubbles because it's just magnetic, and I can take it on and off because sometimes I like the smooth and sometimes I like the texture. It's got the scratchy finish and it's got like the sound, it's got the texture to it. It feels really nice. I also am used to drawing on the smooth texture and it doesn't bother me. I guess it bothers some people. Now, this is just kind of a personal thing, but it might be something for you to think about or to consider or kind of question yourself about. I get really tired of digital art. I absolutely love it. And it's funny because it was like the very first thing that I really like got me to stick with art and got me to actually make art. And yet it's the one medium that I get the most sick of quickly. There's something about traditional art that you just can't beat, in my opinion. Like when I'm painting here and I've got like all my pencils out and I've got pencil shavings all over the place and all of my brushes are scattered and I'm having to look for the brush that I'm wanting, and I've got like my messy towel that I'm having to use, and you know, I've got paint everywhere, and I kind of like the chaos of it. And I find that I get more into my painting when I've got all of this art supplies all around me, that I feel like it kind of inspires me and it kind of helps keep the flow going. When I've got my digital art, I find myself getting kind of distracted a lot more easily. Whereas with traditional art and when I'm using my watercolors, I think because I'm having to constantly think about each next step and I'm having to really consider techniques of things in order to make things work a certain way, it keeps my mind constantly going and flowing and thinking about the art, rather than with digital art, since I don't have to consider so much how, you know, the amount of water will affect the paint color and the canvas. My mind starts to kind of go other places, and before I know it, it's like I'm just kind of not really thinking about the art, so I get kind of bored with it. I'm a very hands-on person, and yes, with digital art, you're still being very hands-on. There's just something way more engaging about traditional art, and I just have to really think about what I'm gonna do next. And I have to problem solve quickly. And I have to consider the techniques, and I have to consider what I need to do over here in order to make this work over there. So it feels a lot more hands-on, and it feels a lot more engaging. And therefore I find that I stick to that watercolor piece way longer than digital art. When I'm drawing digitally, I find that I'm constantly taking breaks and I'm constantly going and doing something else. When I am painting my watercolor paintings, hours go by and it feels like only 5 minutes have passed. And again, it kind of really does require me to be a problem solver, because I don't have the option of a back button or to erase something or to delete a layer. Now, if you're not really familiar with digital art and you've still got questions, you're not sure yet if you want to buy that iPad after all, here are a few really random things that might help you decide on what to do. So just like with pencil and paper, pressure does play a part in digital art. You can design some brushes, and there are some brushes in Procreate that the pressure doesn't really change anything. It has no effect on the way that the line or the stroke comes out on the paper, but you do have the ability to make pressure affect how a brush acts in Procreate. So if you want any of the brushes in Procreate to be just like how a traditional paintbrush or pencil would act, where depending on how much pressure you use determines how much paint is dispersed or how thick or heavy a line is, you can absolutely do that in your digital art as well. You can do that in Procreate. And speaking of brushes, in Procreate, you can literally adjust, manipulate, or completely create your own brushes. You can literally create a polka dot brush. You can even import your own shape and texture into Procreate and create a brush that way. I'm not good at that. Like, I really don't know what I'm doing whenever I'm like adjusting brushes or trying to create a brush. So I've actually bought some brush packs from artists that I really, really like. Alicia Nye, I'm pretty sure that's how you say her name. Alicia Nye. I'm going to put her here, and I'm also going to put a link down below. She makes my absolute favorite brushes of all time. My favorite brushes. She's got blending brushes that blend things seamlessly, and she has really nice like line art brushes. She's got brushes that create eyelashes. She has brushes that create really cool hair effects. She has the best brushes that I've ever come across. So I will link her down below. Like, honestly, the brushes that I use the most are from her. And that, everybody, was my list of pros and cons for digital art. I don't know if I helped anybody at all with this list, but I hope I did. So if you've been on the fence, if you've been considering going ahead and buying that iPad and trying out Procreate or trying out digital art in general, but you weren't sure if it was really the route that you wanted to take, I really, really hope this video helped. If it did help, please let me know, because I like knowing that I can help people. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Love you!